Wouldn't you love to create your own personal oasis? What is an oasis, you ask? An oasis is something that provides refuge, relief, or a pleasant contrast, and that is exactly what you will find at AJO Consulting Services, LLC. AJO Consulting Services is a company that provides individuals, communities, and businesses of color with coaching and consulting services, personal and professional development, as well as social and community connection services. These services include, but are not limited to, dating, life, relationship, and business coaching, finance management, travel experience curation, wellness navigation, and much more. Are you ready to find, connect, and release? Come experience your oasis today. Visit our website to learn more at www.ajoconsultingservices.com. Follow us on Facebook at AJO Consulting and Instagram at AJO Consult. Also, email us at info@ajoconsultingservices.com. Hey everyone, welcome to the Oasis podcast. I'm your host, Miss AJ. Thanks for tuning in. An oasis is something that provides refuge, relief, or a pleasant contrast, and that is exactly what you will find tuning into the Oasis podcast. This is a space where I and special guests will be cultivating intentional and honest conversations about life's journey. Subscribe everywhere you listen to podcasts and watch us on YouTube now. Welcome back to the Oasis podcast. Thank you all for joining me again on another episode. And guess who we have here today? Hey, Mr. Accountability Partner himself.
How you doing? Doing good. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me again. Appreciate you.
Of course, it's been a minute, you know. It's been a little while, just a little bit. We haven't seen you, we haven't heard from you, and I hope you are doing well. We've been, meaning to catch up, schedules, life been lifing, but we are finally here, and we are about to talk about something that I think a lot of us need to really ponder on some more. Those of us who probably have a little bit, you know what I'm saying? And those of us who never thought about it at all, but I think in our big age that we are in now, that's something I think that is very, very important. And we're talking about alignment today. Those who don't know what alignment means, I like to give a little definition so we are all on the same page, and then we can jump into the conversation. The Cambridge Dictionary defines alignment as an arrangement in which two or more things are positioned in a straight line or parallel to each other. So, Mr. Accountability Partner, in your line of work, in general, what do you feel accountability means? Does it definition?
No, I think it's it. I think that alignment for me, and when I talk about it with my clients and just dealing with seeing it now coming up more, it's about being with someone that you are compatible with. And then you both have the same goals, values. Like these things play a role. And I understand how powerful love is. We're going to go into that. But alignment is making sure that you're both on the same page.
Yes. So you mentioned compatibility. So you want to kind of explain what exactly compatibility is for folks as well.
Yeah. So when it comes to compatibility, like I always talk about how I love, right? Love is a beautiful thing. But compatibility is the extra thing that people don't look into as far as how do we work together? How does this person make me feel?
Yes.
And sometimes we get caught up. So compatibility basically means that it's someone that you just seem like y'all not the same person, of course, but you both have a good balance of each other. Yin and yang, so to speak. Like you definitely have a good, nice vibes, and you definitely have the same goals in mind. So that's what I think compatibility is. Like, we may be different, but our common goals are usually the same.
Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like one of my episodes, I talked about this, but one of my older episodes about compatibility. And I'm sure you probably had the experience of meeting somebody, the vibes, let me rephrase that, not vibes, but like the attraction is there, right? The person is genuinely a good person, you know what I mean? And you kind of get to know the person a little bit more, and you're just like, And I don't think, and then you realize that certain things, it's not about everything matching up and having to be like exactly the same, but you realize that y'all just not compatible. Like, and I think a lot of times people like to force that compatibility aspect because, oh, the sexual attraction is there. Oh, they like some of the same things that I like. So we can make it work. And I think that's what tends to happen in relationships that leads to that huge disalignment, right? Is that we see the little things and we're like, okay, this is great. And not realizing that in the future, if these things expound, if more layers are added, it's not going to fit because it doesn't fit right now. So growing it, adding fuel to it is not going to make it any better. Let's jump into your work and how you view alignment, and tell us, how does it show up for you?
All right. So once again, I'm the accountability partner, right? I'm the one that's going to be the reflection in the mirror when someone comes to me about what they're trying to do, right? So when someone tries to come to me about, I need a man or I want a partner, my thing about them being honest with themselves, right? So a lot of times we say the conversation that sounds the most fluffiest, or I need a guy that's a compassion and loving and, financially stable. All of that works, right? But you have to really be honest about what your specific deal breakers are and what you need. Because I had a client where her thing was, she felt bad to admit that sex is very important to her.
Okay.
Because she felt like she felt like it was one of the things where it make her look a certain kind of way. Or make her feel a certain way that she don't want to be that way. She feel like, that expectation. I'm like, nah, you being honest. Like sex is something important in you that if you're with someone, you have to see if you're sexually compatible. And it's okay.
Yeah.
But she felt shame in it. She felt like, it felt away. And I get it. But once again, you have to be honest.
Yeah. So that's a whole nother topic in itself. We should. But, the wheels are turning because we need to talk about the importance of sex and relationships for real, right? And then communicating those needs. But, that's a whole nother topic in itself. But in regards to what you're saying about clarity, right? Being clear on what you need. And then the other piece of it is actually communicating that piece of it, right? How often do you see when you are maybe talking to individuals or even with couples? Because I think alignment kind of shows itself a lot more, or disalignment shows itself a lot more in couplehood, right? Like when you're with somebody. So how often do you see alignment as being an issue in a relationship, but it's really because the person isn't clear or they haven't communicated?
It happens all the time. Like you said, we don't talk about alignment too much, right? Or even compatibility, right? We talk about, I love this person. We have history. We have kids. Like there's always some added function, but we may not just be fit well. Or our expectations weren't expressed. And that's why I talk about all the time how men should do it more, but everybody should do it. About advocating for what you need, what you want. Yeah. And sometimes we don't do that because we don't want to rock the boat. We talked about it before. Yeah. F that boat. We really have to be honest about what we look for and see. But people feel like, in that big age people get into sometimes, they don't know they could get someone else. So they got the person, may not be the best fit, but I'm going to power through. But that powering through, if you don't fix that or be on the same page and have that alignment, it could crash and burn real fast. So I understand you may love someone, and people always talk about, people hate when I say love isn't enough, but what I would say is love is beautiful. I'm an R&B dude. I love love. This is why I'm part of what I do about accountability partner when it comes to relationships and dating. Yes, but I say this. When you love someone and you're also aligned, it hits different. It's more of a lasting effect. So yes, love is cool. Love it. It's good to have, but add compatibility that you both have the same goals, the same drive, the same mission. I want to get married. You want to get married. Sometimes somebody dates someone like, they don't want to get married, but they're going to get lit. I'm going to make it happen. All right. You heard what the person said. And you just trying to power through it. Like, nah. They're saying that. I'm going to convince them to love me. Like I had one girl where she date guys all the time and tell guys she do not want to have kids. Okay. She just don't want to have kids. Okay. And every guy she meets say, you just ain't found the right guy. I'm him. Right? So she like, I'm telling you, I'm not. So they get caught up in her and then they're like, yo, we're going to have kids. She's like, I just said. So it's one of the moments where people try to hear what they want to hear, And me being accountability, like, listen, you have to be honest and listen. Most people tell you what it is. I understand that, people lodge in the honeymoon stage, whatever, but the core values what people are trying to look for, you have to listen at the core. I may like you or love you, but if we're not aligned, I will have to fall back because I already know where this going to end. And I shouldn't have the ego where I have to fix it or mold this person or build a base, so to speak.
So in regards to, I think all of us have probably been there though, right? The person says, oh, I want A. And we're like, all right. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because there's so much other things going on and we're like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe they'll change their mind. I'll be the one, right? To change things. But definitely what you mentioned earlier is when things are aligned, not to say, I think all relationships take a level of effort, energy, right? People don't like the word work, but all that essentially is work, right? It takes a level of putting mind power to something, putting actions behind that. But I think that when two people are actually aligned, it just flows better. You know what I'm saying? Like things, not to say you're not gonna have problems, because you will, because you're two separate individuals coming together, different mindsets, different backgrounds. But things really just have its own natural flow to things as opposed to you forcing things. And I think it may be sometimes a harder concept to understand until you actually experience it, if that makes sense, meeting someone who's aligned with you. But it doesn't always mean that it's in couplehood, meaning like you're with an intimate partner. You can find alignment in your work, right? You can find alignment in friendships. You can find alignment in family, right? Familyhood. There's when you have just, again, another entity, another person rather, that you are aligned, you guys are in the same vibration, right? For those who believe in vibes. When you are there, things just flow. It ain't always going to be necessarily in the same frequency per se, but they are flowing in the same direction. And so there's not much pulling and tugging that you have to do. So in regards to alignment, do you find that those who, are there particular characteristics or traits, let's say, to know or to look out for when something is in alignment and when something isn't?
Well, I think that it's about having conversations, right? And really take heed of what people say, right? So if I'm saying that I want to have, so it's funny. The other day I was hanging out with one of my homegirls. We was in Brooklyn dancing, having a ball, right? At like this game night event, whatever. So she asked me, she's like, do you have any kids? And I'm like, no, I don't have no kids. And she was like, oh, why? I said, oh, strange thing. I'm radical. I want to get married first. And she was like, yo, you the first guy that ever told me that, right? So if I was dating her or trying to court her and I had a conversation that I want to get married before I have kids, that's a conversation to be had. And if someone's like, I want kids now, or, it's like, we're not aligned. My thing is, yes, things does happen, but my purpose or what I'm going for right now, this is my current goal. Yeah, people could change, but if I'm saying this is my goal and I'm really backing it up, then you have to understand that. But she was so shocked by it, but understand why I tell women that, they'd be like, I never heard that before. So there, if you want kids now or you don't want no kids, then that's a conversation to have. So I think what happened to characteristics in this line is just people not really following up with questions. They will say something and it was like power through and not why, or find the back behind that story. They just take it face value because they don't want to rock the boat, so to speak. So if I say something that seems like a red flag or a yellow flag or whatever, a caution, people don't want to dig too deep because they don't want to mess with the flow. And I think that we have to have more serious conversations. There's so many now card games now, that dating card games. Whatever it is to have, we need to have those conversations early to manage expectations. And I think a lot of times we don't do that. We just going with the flow and we having good times, and we may see something maybe alarming, but we're like, we fix that. Like we just talked about earlier, like we'll fix that post. Like let's do this, we can fix it later. No. There's things to ask the question why.
Right.
To help you get more understanding, are you aligned? That's what dating supposed to be about. Dating supposed to be, we supposed to date and try to see, are we on the same page to take things to a certain level? But sometimes we get so caught up, they have sex early, and then that can cloud your vision. And now you feel like you're trying to force this alignment, compatibility, but you're not. You may have, like you said earlier, We may have certain things we like about each other, but the overall, as far as a partnership, that's how you gotta look at it. You gotta look at it. This is a partnership we're gonna get into, and are you gonna be happy on it? Growing with each other, or it's gonna be a lot of, like you said, work your oil, but it's a tugging that you're trying to avoid. Too much of the tugging and fighting someone so you get to your side, so to speak.
Right. I know for me, as I got older, of course, when we younger, we ain't thinking about no goddamn alignment, whatever, right? He cute, she cute, whatever. And that's pretty much it. But I know for me, of course, it's always in hindsight, it's 2020, right? Hindsight. But I can compare for me when things weren't in alignment to now where I currently am in my current relationship where I can tell that we are aligned, right? And I think when it became actually visible and clear for me, of course, when you do the internal work, therapy.
Writing Our Own Stories Incorporated is an organization that embraces and uplifts authors of color and equips them with the tools and resources to write their stories. Writing Our Own Stories Incorporated provides seminars, workshops, and a collaborative writing group setting where authors can feel free to write. We believe in the transformative power of storytelling, and we will continue to make space for all stories to be told. Writing Our Own Stories Incorporated provides a safe and welcoming space for all aspiring authors to tell their story. If you're interested in joining our writing group or learning more about our organization, check out our website at www.writingourownstoriesinc.org. That's www.writingourownstoriesinc.org. And make sure and follow us on IG and Facebook at Writing Our Own Stories. Writing Our Own Stories, Inc. has released its debut book, For Black Women, by Black Women, an anthology of lessons learned. This debut anthology is a love letter to Black women and for everyone who loves, knows, or wants to support Black women. Purchase your copy of the anthology at www.writingourownstoriesinc.org. Again, that's www.writingourownstoriesinc.org.
And you actually listen to your gut and your spirit when it talks to you, you realize, oh, wow, okay, these things did happen before and I just didn't listen to them. I didn't pay attention to them. I know for me, when things are not in alignment, I not only have I have a, that voice in the back of the head that's kind of like, right? Or just I literally have physical kind of feelings that things just feel off all the time, right? Some just don't feel right. Nothing's wrong in that moment, but it just don't feel right. So I know for me, those are the signs. Those are things that I didn't pay attention to before, that now when things are in alignment, even though you can be in the middle of a disagreement, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing in your internal screaming, this isn't it. You know what I mean? It's nothing that's it's just okay, you know what? We're not on the same page right now. This is fine. We're going to figure it out. Whereas I feel like when I was not in alignment, not only did I have these personal kind of physical, and I had these thoughts, but also there were actual things happening that kept showing me this is an alignment, meaning constant. You guys can't even have a conversation without having a disagreement. Literally, you can't hey, let's take a walk. Now let's take the subway. Argument. All right, let's have pizza. Let's have Popeyes. Argument. And everything. Literally, you can't even have a regular flow conversation. For me, those were signs that I didn't take before.
Yeah.
It was annoying as hell, but I didn't take it as, oh, we're not in alignment. I took it as okay, we need to learn how to communicate. But the fact is, it shouldn't be that difficult for those easy conversations. Those easy conversations should not be like that, right? And so those are things that I noticed when I was looking through my relationships and taking a look back, when I now know what compatibility means, when I now know what alignment means, the signs and things that were happening that I didn't pay attention to. So do you find that there are things like that when you talk to people, if you have experienced yourself, those things that kind of hey, this is showing you this isn't in alignment with what you are, who you are, and what you're trying to accomplish?
Yes. And I think that the thing, like you said before earlier, is your body also tells you, right? So is one woman where we always talk about these lists, right? And deal breakers. And she wanted the man with 6 figures. She wanted the man that's this and that. And most of the time it's money, right? Most of the time I notice when I'm talking to women and when I'm talking to partners, is about financial stability. Totally understand. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
But also the other part of it is character.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Yes, the money's there, but who say he giving to you? Who say he generous with his money?
Correct.
But you so caught up in the thing, right? So what her thing is, she was dating this guy, making 6 figures, and she would kind of like get into audition mode for him to pick her.
Mm.
She was doing things that she normally did during the dating cycle before. She was trying to go extra hard because in her mind, he was a rare unicorn and she was nervous that she can't find another.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
But what happened was he gave her so much anxiety because she was so confused. She was trying to find, like, she didn't, like, why he didn't want me? I'm trying my best. I'm going beyond the call of duty. But it wasn't until I was talking to her, realizing that, listen, y'all just not compatible. Y'all do not want the same thing. He do not want the same thing. You're trying to force it and you get mad at yourself because you feel like you can't find another. You should feel worthy enough that you can find someone that will be more in sync and more aligned than you having anxiety. Imagine if you was in a relationship with him. This is during dating. And you would have got more anxiety. You would have had jealous rage. You see videos where people go crazy, like, why? Because y'all just not aligned with each other. But you're so caught up in who he was, what he represented, that she was so caught up in that her own body was telling her, this ain't it. But she's like, no. I gotta get this. So she finally let him go. Man, she currently in a relationship now that's more aligned. And she get more in the soft life, right? That she was seeking for. But it's about being compatible. Yes, it's good to have those lists of what you're looking for, but don't forget the part of how the person make you feel. What other characteristics that person has. 6 figures is cool, but what else does that person brings? And then all you're compatible and work with each other. Yes, I think that even your own body showed you, like you said, or having these constant fights or little things and bickering, and we just not having joyous times. We just fighting each other, but people get their mindset is, all relationships work. Yes, but not like this. Mm-hmm. This is getting borderline toxic. This is getting borderline, you like that person, you love that person, but y'all just not on the same page right now about what y'all want in your life. And the best thing you can do is stay away and let them be them and find that person, so to speak. But, I understand sometimes people get in that big age, they get nervous.
Yeah, they get nervous. They see a certain age creeping up and I'm never going to have this, or they're watching people around them and then they don't want to talk. They're like, oh, I can make it fit. I can make it work, right? I'm adaptable. I can adjust. And it's like, well, why? Why do I have to do all that? Like, let me rephrase. Let me not say that. Just say that you shouldn't grow, right? Yes. As an individual. And I think a lot of times we do individual growth, but there's a different type of growth we do when we are in a relationship with somebody. But that growth should be an internal want. And it's not necessarily for someone else, but it's for you to be better. Mm-hmm. And that person will benefit from you being better, right? So it's not, I'm gonna be a cook just for you. It's like I want to learn how to cook. I think it'll make me a better person to learn how to cook, but then I can also make me some nice meals for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think people sometimes they see these voids, they see these just big holes in their relationships, or maybe things in these other people that they really don't want, they don't really like, they don't see how this can be part of their future, which is an important piece, but they're still like, okay, I can make it work. Or they change themselves to like accommodate those things. And then what ends up happening is resentment. And you end up not even realizing who you are. And if and when the relationship ends, you have so much work to not only grieve the relationship, but now you have to completely refigure out who the hell you are and get back to, get a semblance of yourself, of who you were before the relationship. So
2 things you said that caught my attention is when it comes to knowing yourself and how important it is to know yourself, right? And being honest what you're looking for. So therefore you're not quick to mold and adapt to something just to make it work, right? Because you know who you are and what you need and what you want, right? And you can communicate that and advocate for yourself. And another thing, it happens to a lot of men where they know someone not compatible with them, but they would still stay because they don't want the stigma of being quote unquote the bad guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're shut down, they were cheap probably, but they don't have the honesty, like, listen, I gotta go. And it's funny, I was doing a podcast a while ago and I was talking to a group of guys and I was telling them that all my relationships, I'm the one that left. And the dude's like, yo, he said, yo, I broke up with a girl one time in my life and I cried. Like, I just can't do it. Mm-hmm. And it's like one thing, when you notice this is not serving you anymore, when you notice it's not working for you, you have to understand it's okay being quote unquote the bad guy.
Yeah.
But you have to now remove yourself and break up with the person. I call it demoting. But you have to say, listen, I asked for this. I gave grace. We're just not at the core. We like each other. We're just not in that place. And I'm all my ex's favorite ex. I'm still friends with them. But I realized I wasn't him. And I didn't have the ego or want to take on that burden of, let me just stay here because that's the right thing to do. Let me just stay here because maybe I could find a way to cope. Life is too short. Like, and this is why, and that's why, that's why alignment is so important, because when you see someone really genuinely happy, not just doing it for the gram, it looks good and feels good, and you want that. So what happens a lot of time when men don't really want to get married anymore like that is because we hear so much of the places are not aligned, and they're like, yo, don't get married.
Yeah.
It's a trap. And then men like, you not happy and I'm successful. I can still. But this is what happened when they didn't want to do the work. They rushed in it. They got married because it's the right thing to do, quote unquote, and they wasn't aligned with that person and they want to be the bad guy. And now they're not happy. And that's what happens with people. Like, you have to be, that's why people don't want to get married anymore like that, because they're seeing a lot of alignment, unhealthy relationships happening. Mm-hmm. And that's part of it. That's why it's so important to be with someone you compatible alignment, because it makes it gives it a different kind of feel to it. And a lot of men were talking to me about it. They want to break up with their women, and they're like, I can't though, Chad. I'm like, I hear you, but is this the life you want? Nah, but this is what men need to do. You just got to sacrifice. I'm like, all right. But yeah, when you honest with yourself and you really understand you want, it definitely hit long-term relationship of healthy ones.
So, that's another topic we're going to talk about, because we got to do that one. But before we go ahead and finish up this episode, what are some, we touched on a lot of great things, but what are some gems and some things you want to leave the viewers or the listeners with?
I would say the main things to take away from is being honest with yourself and about what you want and what you need, and express that with the partner you're dating or in your relationship with now. Things may change. Our body changes every 7 years. Things could change. That's why it's always good to have date nights and check in with your partner. Like I said before earlier, you can use card games to try to find ways to have the conversation and get more insight on the person, because it helps when you understand where we're going. And I think that's the biggest thing about being honest with yourself, having those uncomfortable conversations, and really take an honest look and reflecting, are this person, I love them, but are we compatible? Do I see a future with this person? How that future looks to me? What is my concerns I may have? Like, you need to be honest with those conversations, not just trying to power through it because you want to power through it because you're tired of dating scene or it's piss in the water, whatever. Whatever those little cliches going on. No, I want to be happy though.
Yeah.
And you deserve to be happy. I'll leave that with that. You deserve to be happy.
It's a fact. It's a fact. I think I would add to that all those things I love, because in my current relationship, the card games for sure. Yeah. We had check-ins, literally check in, be like, let's check in. You good? Yeah. I know he didn't like that. He didn't like that shit when we first started doing it, but now he appreciates it. It's something I've never done in my other relationships, to be honest. And so I was like, I want to make sure I do this. And I think it definitely has helped, because just like what you said, we definitely need to talk about that. A lot of times men feel like, one, they don't feel the safety to talk and say what they want to say. They don't want to be the bad guy. They want to hurt somebody's feelings. But I think if you create the space consistently for them to be able to come in and be like, you know what, the other day you stepped on my toe. I ain't saying nothing, but I ain't like that. You know what I'm saying?
Don't feel like, because with men also don't. We're gonna talk about another topic, whatever. But when it comes to men, we just don't feel safe and feel like it's a trap. And normally, the time is a trap.
Yes, that's the thing. So you have to create that consistent this space so they know she ain't gonna try to get me. She really serious about this, and we definitely gonna talk about that. But I definitely got to. But I definitely think the added piece of what you're saying, everything that you said, I co-sign, but I want to add that be in constant questioning. And I think that that's a piece that sometimes we get into like the mundane kind of flow of the relationship and things. And when certain things arise, we don't question it, right? Even within ourselves. And I know I do a lot of that too, of other, behaviors and thoughts, but like, do I still want to be here? Yeah. Okay. Why? Right. And then keep asking yourself these questions. It don't matter if you've been with that person 10, 15 years. It don't matter if you're in a good space or a bad space. I think you should constantly keep asking questions. And if certain questions come up, don't be push it aside. Be like, oh no, I don't want to think about that, or I don't want to answer that. Because more than likely you're not wanting to answer it is a reason, right? And so you really need to dig deeper. And I think that's an important piece. I think when people get into the flow relationship, oh, things are good, or we've been together, blah, 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 so much of times. Oh, I don't need to like, think about those things or ask myself those things. Not only should you ask your partner certain questions, of course, everything you said, be real with it. Don't worry about the bad guy, be honest, but ask yourself the same thing. Why am I with this person for real? You know what I mean? Like, is there something more I want from this person? Do I feel like I'm getting everything that I need? And if those questions come out like, yes, you're getting everything, wonderful, keep it going, keep it pushing. But if there's some one or two things that's like, I don't think I'm getting everything, or whatever the answer might be, you ask yourself some more questions though. Be like, is it because the person's not giving me what I want, or they are, but now I want more? Because a lot of times what's tend to happen, I know for me too, is like when you've been in relationships that have been kind of, and when you actually meet somebody, they give you stuff in the beginning, you're like, oh, this is amazing. But then you realize that was just the baseline. And now you're like, not satisfied with this no more. And I think a lot of guys need to understand that too, right? Sometimes, and maybe some men may experience it as well, is that you might meet a woman and then she's so happy in the beginning, and it's because you are doing literally the base, right? And because she hasn't received the base before, so she's like, oh my God, he's amazing and everything is great, until she realizes she's sitting there. She may not communicate though, which is the problem. Yeah. But she's there and then she's like, I actually do want more than this. He's not that he's not doing, and not that he's not doing a good job, but I want more. And something in you would want more because you deserve more, because that's just what it is. And you always wanted more, but you just never thought you were going to get it. So you kind of was like, with all these other people. And so just constantly asking yourself those questions and being honest. And I think so constantly questioning, not just the other person, but questioning yourself, your thoughts, your wants, and your needs. And then of course, everything Chad says about now you need to communicate it and have that conversation. And hopefully you guys, again, if you're in alignment, you should be able to meet here and move forward. And if not, that's okay too. Be the bad guy. Lord knows I don't care about being no bad woman. I'll be the bad man. What?
Yeah, like I said, it's okay. I don't look at being a bad guy, but I understand, right? But I always tell people too, like, I love you, I just love me more, right? So it's one of the things where, trust me, I totally understand. I thought about it, right? I really sat here. I really had a conversation with myself, with you. I expressed these things and it's still not working. So it's just important to me. I have to make executive decision and walk away. I have to make executive decision. I can't wait for this person to change or give hope, potential of expiration date. I gave grace. I'm not happy. And I never cheated on a woman, not to brag, whatever, but I'd rather leave. So it's one of the things where I'm not being satisfied. I'm communicating that. I'm also advocating, is there any way I can help? But if you can't give these things that I'm needing in a relationship, then I'm gonna have to be the bigger person and be like, listen, I love you. You're amazing. I just don't think this could work. And we got to separate. And I know it sucks. We're going to talk about it in another episode, but it's needed because we have to understand how important to feel loved, but more important, being happy and being understanding that we're on the same page. We are aligned with what our goals are, what our dreams are. And yeah, things could happen and change things, but we're clear about what we're trying to accomplish here. Whatever it is, it don't have to be marriage. It could be whatever it is that we're understanding, we're on the same page, and we get to it. But if we don't have those conversations and you don't have to conversate with yourself with what you really need and why you need what you need, then you're just trying to power through it, trying to drag somebody to greatness, or somebody drag some water. Yeah.
Okay. That's 100% fact. Thank you so much, Chad, for this conversation. Let the listeners and viewers know what is next for you. What's been going on with you? Anything you want to share?
Yeah, so what I've been doing lately, I've been partnering up with a lot of other entities that's aligned with what I got going on, right? So Convo is a company that focuses more about all kind of relationship building, whether it's corporate relationships. So I work with them, getting them where they need to be. They got a couple of events going on in New York City on Wednesdays and Fridays. So I'm working with them on that. Another group, situationship, another relationship-based thing. They be having their events coming up. But I'm always on Instagram, L Chad Scott. I should get back on YouTube soon. Get that world in. So I've been more behind the scenes, partner up with people that's aligned with what they're aligning and helping them get to the next level. Like I said, I think that's where I'm at right now, aligning. But for me, I'm still doing coaching, but I'm getting geared up to officially launch. So getting ready for that work going to be amazing.
I know it will be. And so where could the listeners and viewers find you on social media?
Yeah, so on Instagram, I am Chad Scott here. On Twitter and on YouTube, it's Chad Scott here. So that's all platforms. And you see all the stuff I've got going on and the partners I have working with.
Wonderful. So remember, y'all, Chad is also a relationship coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your girl here is dating life and relationship coach. So holla at us if you want some information, some guidance, get y'all where y'all need it to be, right? Where you aiming to be, what things are in alignment for you in your life, right? And so thank you so much, Chad. I can't wait to have you on the next episode. I am here for it. I am ready for it. So you let me know when you're ready. All right. All right. Till next time.
I see you, man.
Nice. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of the Oasis podcast. I hope you were able to find something that resonated with you on your journey. Don't forget to subscribe anywhere you listen to podcasts and YouTube. Rate us and leave us a review and comment on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, and YouTube. Share your favorite episode and like us on Instagram and Facebook. If you have any questions, comments, want to be a guest, or any show ideas, contact us at ajaysoasis@gmail.com. That's AAYJAYSOASIS@gmail.com, or direct message us on Instagram and Facebook.